Purpose of any business, friends, please remember, most people would think that the purpose of a business is to make profit. And let me tell you, friends, that is completely wrong. That is completely wrong. Purpose of a business is not to make profit. And why do I say this? I say this because if the purpose of a business was to make profit, then we would not see a company called Google. Why? The founders of Google, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, they started making profit within very first few years of starting Google. And they would have said, purpose of a business is to make profit. We have made profit. Purpose is achieved. Let us close the business. If the purpose of a business was to make profit, remember, we would not see a company called Apple. Why? The founders of Apple, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, in the very first few years of their operations, started making profit. And they would have said, purpose of a business is to make profit. We have earned profit. Purpose is achieved. Let us close the business. If the purpose of a business was to make profit, we would not see a group called ArcelorMittal. Why? Mr. Lakshminivas Mittal, the founder of ArcelorMittal Group, started making profit within first few years of his operations. And he would have said the same thing, that the purpose of a business is to make profit. We have made profit. Purpose is achieved. Let us close the business. And therefore, friends, please remember that the purpose of a business is not to make profit. And why do I say this? I say this because making profit in a business is mandatory. Making profit in a business is compulsory. Making profit in a business is non-negotiable. Making profit in a business is not a matter of choice. Making of a profit in business is something that you have to do. So if you are in business, you better make profit. And if you are in business and you cannot make profit, then what you can do, the least that you can do, is to hand that business over to someone who can run it profitably and get out of it. And why is that so? And that is because making profit in business is mandatory. Making profit in business is compulsory. Making profit in business is non-negotiable. And today, friends, remember, there is even a law, and I'm sure all of you would be aware that today there's a law in this country, and that is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. And what this law talks about nothing but a business has to make profit. And if a business is not making profit, then what happens? That business has to hand over the management to somebody else. The company has to be handed over to somebody else. And I'm sure you must be aware of so many cases. So you have a company called SR Steel. SR Steel was incurring losses, not paying to their operational creditors, not paying to their financial creditors. As a result of that, now SR Steel is no longer with the Ruiyas. SR Steel is today with a group called ArcelorMittal, and it is known as now AMNS, ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel. So many such examples. Then the question is, if purpose of a business is not to make profit, then what is the purpose of a business? And please remember, purpose of every business is to create value. Purpose of a business is to create value. How to create value? Create value by making profit, by making ethical profit, by making positive profit, by making good profit. And that is the purpose of a business. So you can say purpose of a business is to create value by making profit, or you can say purpose of a business is to make profit by creating value. But the question is, how do you create value? And you create value by number one, converting resources into result, and then converting result into resources. Now this is how you create value. This is how you create value. You create value by converting resources into result and result into resources. And I'm sure a question must be coming in the minds of every one of you. What is the meaning of value creation? So would somebody like to answer this question from any one of you as to what is the meaning of value creation? Anyone? What is the meaning of value creation? Anyone?
Which makes the work easier.
Which makes
The work easier.
work easier. Very good. Very nice. Very good. What else? और क्या? देखो, वैल्यू क्रिएशन का मतलब बहुत सिंपल है. वैल्यू क्रिएशन का मतलब है टू मेक दिस वर्ल्ड अ बेटर प्लेस टू लिव देन वॉट इट वॉज येस्टरडे, एंड दैट इज़ वैल्यू क्रिएशन. वैल्यू क्रिएशन का मतलब है टू make the life easy for the people, and that is value creation. And remember, that is what is purpose of a business, by is to create value by converting resources into result and result into resources. And why do you do it? So that, so as to contribute to the economy of the country, thereby make positive difference in the life of everyone. Everyone. And that is what is purpose of a business. I'm sure, friends, today you hear a lot about CSR. You hear a lot about something called as ESG. And what is ESG? ESG is nothing but environment, social responsibility, and good governance. That is what is ESG. And that is what is value creation is all about. Today we hear about sustainable reporting. Sustainable reporting, right? And what is sustainable reporting? And sustainable reporting is nothing but value creation. So today, gone are the days where you could focus only on making profit. Today you have to you have to place focus on value creation. I'm sure you will know this gentleman. Anyone would like to tell me who is he? Anyone? ये जो फोटो
He
आप,
is the founder of Tata Empire,
एंड इनका नाम क्या है?
Jamshedji Tata.
Absolutely. So remember, Jamshedji Tata, when we say that the purpose of a business is to create value, and how do you create value? You create value by converting resources into result and result into resources. Friends, you will be happy to note that Jamshedji Tata, who laid the foundation of the Tata empire that we see today, आपको मालूम है कि जमशेदजी टाटा ने स्टील प्लांट के, ही वॉज द वन हु थॉट ऑफ स्टील प्लांट इन दिस कंट्री फर्स्ट टाइम. एनी आइडिया एज टू व्हाई डिड जमशेदजी टाटा थॉट of steel plant in this country? Remember, Jamshedji Tata did not think of setting up a steel plant in this country because he thought that setting up a steel plant in this country was a phenomenal opportunity of making very handsome profit. It was not because that it would give him opportunity to make more wealth for himself. Jamshedji Tata thought of setting up steel plant in the year 1902. And why did he think of setting up steel plant in this country? He thought of setting up steel plant in this country in 1902. Why? Because he realized at that time, with the advent of steam and the electricity, जमशेदजी टाटा ने रियलाइज किया, since India was under the colonial rule, America was rapidly industrializing, Europe was rapidly industrializing, but Jamshedji Tata thought that since India was under the colonial rule, he realized that nobody will worry about India and something has to be done. And he realized that if something was not done at that point in time, then India will remain so backward for all the times to come in future. And that is why, friends, he thought of setting up steel plant in 1902. Unfortunately, he passed away in 1904. Even before the land for the steel plant could be found, he passed away in 1904. But he laid such a strong foundation that his children and his team continued to work on this project. In 1906, they found a land for setting up this plant, and in 1912 July, India produced its first steel from the Tata Steel in Jamshedpur. Please remember, why was Jamshedji Tata doing it? Jamsetji Tata was doing it because he realized that the purpose of a business is to create value. And what is the meaning of creating value? Meaning of creating value is to make this world a better place to live than what it was yesterday. And that is why Jamsetji Tata was such a visionary business industrialist. And now, please understand. So, how do you create value? Now, you create value by converting resources into result. इसका क्या मतलब है? इसका मतलब ये है कि जमशेदजी टाटा ने जो, एंड बाय द वे, इवन बिफोर जमशेदजी टाटा थॉट ऑफ सेटिंग अप द स्टील प्लांट, उन्होंने उनके टेक्सटाइल बिजनेस से और ट्रेडिंग के बिजनेस से बहुत पैसा कमाया था. He had earned enough for all his generations to come. Still he thought of steel plant. तो उनके बाद की जो जनरेशन थी, उन्होंने क्या किया कि उनके जो रिसोर्सेज थे उससे उन्होंने स्टील प्लांट क्रिएट किया. So how do you create value? You create value by converting resources into result. So what was the resource? The money that they had. And what was the result? The result was a world-class steel plant during those days. Now what you do? Having set up the steel plant, what do? You go to the market, buy a big lock, put it onto the factory gate and go home? Of course not. Of course not. Then what do? Then what you do is, now that you have converted resources into result, now you start converting that result into resources. Now what does it mean? It means अब आप क्या करिए, आपके पास में दुनिया का बेहतरीन स्टील प्लांट है, प्रोड्यूस स्टील, sell it in the market, and when you sell it in the market you get cash, and that is what you're doing. You are converting resources into result. So resources into result, and then you are converting result into resources. Now this is how you create value, and that is what is value creation. And please remember, that is what is the purpose of any business. So I'm sure you can understand, converting resources into result is growth, and converting result into resources is profit, and creating value for the economy is the good corporate governance, and this is what is also a leadership. This is what is also a leadership. So that is, friends, the first question for all of us to remember as to what is purpose of a business. Purpose of a business is to not make profit, because profit is something that we have to make, we have no choice. Then what is the purpose of a business? Purpose of a business is to create value. And why we should create value? We should create value so as to make this world a better place to live than what it was yesterday. And how do we create value? We create value by converting resources into result and result into resources. So how all the big empires that you see on this earth today, वो टाटाज हों, बिरलाज हों, मित्तल्स हों, अंबानीज हों, अडानीज हों, मुंजाल्स हों, जितने भी बिग बिजनेस एम्पायर्स जो आप देखते हैं आज दुनिया में, वो इतने बड़े एम्पायर्स कैसे बने? All those big empires have become so big by following this simple mantra of converting resources into result and result into resources. And that is, friends, question number 1, and that is purpose of a business. Let us come to the question number 2. How the business operations are controlled all over the globe. अब ये सभी से सवाल है, आप सभी से, and all of you have to answer this question. सवाल ये है कि दुनिया में इतने बड़े बड़े बिजनेस एम्पायर्स हैं, टाटाज हैं, बिरलाज हैं, अंबानीज हैं, अडानीज हैं, और भी दुनिया में हैं, और ये इनके सभी के ऑपरेशंस, बिरलाज हैं, सबके ऑपरेशंस पूरी दुनिया में हैं. क्या लगता है आपको? हाउ मिस्टर रतन टाटा, हु हैज़ गॉट ऑपरेशंस ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड, और उनके सारे ऑपरेशंस जो प्लांट हैं, यूनिट्स हैं, क्या लगता है आपको रतन टाटा जी उनको कैसे कंट्रोल करते होंगे? दिस क्वेश्चन इज टू ऑल ऑफ यू. एवरीवन.
Sir, here one needs to formulate proper policies, proper code of conduct. After that,
Yes, Vish, very good.
Business needs to have a proper level of hierarchy.
Very good, very good. Yes, what else?
You build a nice world-class team across the globe, actually. You have a team of people who are world-class, so you build the right team, the right people.
Yes, Manish, very good. Yes, of course. Yes, what else? What else? Now, friends, let me tell you, I had the opportunity of working with this group called ArcelorMittal. ArcelorMittal is having operations in more than 60 countries all over the world. They are world's largest steel making company and they are world's largest mining company. Now, when I joined ArcelorMittal, I really wondered as to how Mr. Mittal, with his operations all over the world, must be controlling all the units, all the operations. ArcelorMittal had operations in Brazil, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Poland, Russia, Asia, Africa, Central America, North America, South America, all over the globe. Luckily, I had opportunity of interacting with a lot of people and also visiting all these locations in ArcelorMittal. And I realized that Mr. Mittal is able to control or all the big business operations or big business groups are able to control their operations globally by answering a one simple question. And what that one simple question is, that one simple question is, what is lifeline of a business? Now, once you and I also understand as to what is the lifeline of a business, remember, controlling of the operations doesn't really matter as to how many they are, it becomes very easy. So let me ask this question to all of you, and I would like every one of you, because there are, I can see that 40 of you who are there, I would like every one of you must give me an answer, a brief one. क्या लगता है आपको कि बिजनेस में ऐसी कौन सी चीज़ है अगर वो नहीं होगी तो हमारा बिजनेस बंद हो जाएगा? What is that one thing? If it is not there, our business will come to a grinding halt, and that is what I mean when I ask you this question as to what is the lifeline of a business. All of you, क्या लगता है आपको?
You don't have customer.
Yeah, please.
You don't have customer, sir. This will come to a grinding halt.
Yes, Manish, I can hear you. Okay.
To have the customers.
Okay, to have the
your end customers.
customer and customer is one. Okay.
Your right attitude towards
A proper process and system of operations.
System operations. Okay, very good. Yeah. Okay.
System of
Customer.
operations.
Ideas.
Yes, yes.
Creativity and ideas, new ideas.
New ideas. Okay, new ideas. Okay, very good. What else? What else?
The positive cash flows in each unit.
Very good. Very good. Positive cash flow. Very good. Okay, what else? What else? One more answer.
Latest technology with market intelligence.
Very good, Shiva. So, technology. Now, let me tell you, friends, all the answers that you have given are absolutely right. Are absolutely right because किसी भी बिजनेस को सरवाइव करने के लिए कस्टमर चाहिए, रॉ मटेरियल चाहिए, टेक्नोलॉजी चाहिए, आइडियाज़ चाहिए, R&D चाहिए और मार्केट चाहिए, प्लांट चाहिए, मशीनरी चाहिए, लैंड चाहिए, बिल्डिंग चाहिए. All that you have said is true. But my question was, what is that one thing? So we need all this. We need plant. And why do we need plant? We need plant because we have the raw material. And why do we have the raw material? We have the raw material because we have a customer. And why we have a customer? Because we have to produce the product and give it to him. And why we have to give it to him? We have to give it to him so that he gives us money. So it boils down to one point, and that is money. But I'm not sure. When you say money is the lifeline of a business, I'm not sure. So when you say money, do you mean to say profit or do you mean to say cash? So what is the lifeline of a business? Is it profit or is it? So when you say money, what do you really mean by it? Is it profit? That is what you are meaning? or it is cash that is what you're meaning?
Cash.
Cash, okay.
It's a free cash flow.
Free cash flow, okay. Free cash flow.
So even cryptocurrencies have, people are trading into it, but it doesn't hold any, value at the back end. So it needs to be a legal tender. It has to have value behind it. So without that, businesses cannot work.
Yeah, okay, very good. So, friends, let me tell you, when we say money, it may mean profit, but is profit my lifeline? I need to find out. And when I find out, what do I come to know? I come to know that in my business, मेरे बिजनेस में मैंने 100 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट कमाया. कितना? 100 करोड़ का. Now, is it my lifeline? I have to find out. And when I find out, what do I come to know? I come to know कि भाई मैंने 100 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट कमाया, ये बात बराबर है, लेकिन मेरी इन्वेंट्री 60 करोड़ से ऊपर चली गई और मेरे रिसीवेबल 70 करोड़ से ऊपर चले गए. Now please tell me, is this profit of 100 crore that I have earned in my business, is it my lifeline? And what is the answer? Everyone, what is the answer?
No.
No. The answer is no. And why the answer is no? The answer is no because मैंने 100 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट कमाया, ये बात सही है, लेकिन मेरी इन्वेंट्री 60 करोड़ से ऊपर हो गई, मेरे रिसीवेबल 70 करोड़ से ऊपर हो गए. इसका मतलब इवन दो आई हैव अर्नड अ प्रॉफिट ऑफ 100 करोड़, एज फार एज मनी इज कंसर्न, आई एम नॉट इन प्लस, आई एम इन माइनस बाय 30 करोड़. And therefore, please remember, profit is not my lifeline. Profit is not my lifeline. Is cash my lifeline? Need to find out. Need to find out. And what do I come to know? I come to know that कि मेरा जो बैंक अकाउंट है, मेरी कंपनी का जो बैंक अकाउंट है, उसमें 200 करोड़ रुपए पड़े हैं. How much? 200 crore. Is this 200 crore lying in my bank account? Is it cash? Of course it is cash. I can use it for anything that I want to use it for. But the question is it my lifeline? Need to find out. And when I find out, what do I come to know? I come to know that this 200 crore of cash which is lying in my bank account has come from where? It has come from a loan that I have taken from a bank. Now please tell me, is this 200 crore of cash lying in my bank account, is it my lifeline? And the answer is, everyone, the answer is everyone.
No, sir.
No, of course no. You're right, absolutely. And why no? Because not only I have to give this 200 crore back to the bank one day, but I also have to pay interest on it. And therefore, please remember, cash is also not my lifeline. Then what is my lifeline? My lifeline is cash profit. My lifeline is cash profit. Now, what is the meaning of cash profit? Meaning of cash profit is profit जो मैंने कमाया और जो मेरे हाथ में है. And that is the cash profit. And that is what will give me lifeline in my business. So, if we go to Mr. Mittal and tell Mr. Mittal, in this plant in Russia or in Brazil or in Mexico, we have earned a profit of $1 billion. Mr. Mittal would say, don't tell me how much is the profit, tell me how much is the cash profit. And remember, this is how the operations are controlled by the top management sitting in the corporate offices. So what do? They do not have to look at each and everything. What they need to look at, they need to look at only one thing, and that one thing is the cash profit. So what they do, they just compare the cash profit that the unit has earned with the budgeted cash profit as of that date or for that day. If the budgeted cash profit, the actual cash profit earned by that unit on that date, by that date, is in line with the budgeted cash profit, everything is okay. But if it is running short, of the budgeted cash profit, that means something is wrong. And that is what will trigger a decision in the corporate office for someone to be given a responsibility to go and check and find out as to why the cash profit of a particular unit is going down. And this is how, remember, the operations, friends, are controlled all over the globe. तो जितने भी बड़े बड़े business houses हैं, how do they take decisions? And this is how they take the decision. So just find out what is the cash profit that you have earned and compare that cash profit with the budgeted cash profit. If the actual cash profit is in line with the budgeted cash profit, that means the operations in that unit are going on very well. Nothing is to be disturbed. Nobody is to be disturbed. They should continue the way they are going on. But if the actual cash profit is short of the budgeted cash profit, that is a trigger for decision making. And this is how the financial analysis is used for the purpose of decision making. Now the third question, friends, is relationship between business growth, EBITDA, capex and borrowing. Now remember, friends, it's very simple. There is a direct relationship between EBITDA and the borrowing. And what is the relationship? The relationship is very simple. When I borrow, remember, when I borrow in my business, I get money, no doubt about it. But together with that money, what I also get, I get two obligations. And what those two obligations are? Those two obligations are, number one, I have to give that money back to the bank one day. And number two, I also have to pay interest on the loan that I am taking from that bank. And therefore, please remember, if I borrow and I have an obligation to pay that money back, and I have an obligation to pay interest on that loan that I have taken, the question that should come to the mind of everyone as to where am I going to get that money for paying that loan back? Where am I going to get that money for servicing that loan that I am taking? And remember, that cash will come from your EBITDA. Meaning what? Meaning, if EBITDA of a business is strong, that business can borrow more. If EBITDA of a business is weak, that business should not think in terms of borrowing at all. And that is the relationship between the growth of a business, borrowing, EBITDA and capex. So याद रखिए, if the business has got good EBITDA, business can afford to borrow more. The business can afford to borrow more, business will borrow more. If the business will borrow more, business will spend more money on the capexes. If the business will spend more money on the capexes, obviously the business will grow. And that is the relationship between the growth of a business, EBITDA of the business, borrowing of the business and the capex of the business. If EBITDA is weak, that business cannot grow. That business will have to first work on how to strengthen the EBITDA. That means work on the current operations and try to increase the EBITDA as much as possible by working on the COGS, by working on the EBITDA cost, by working on the sales and by working on the SG&A. So this is how the business will have to work on strengthening the EBITDA. And once the EBITDA is strengthened, the business can go for the borrowing, and through the borrowing, the business can do more capexes. With the more capexes, business will generate more revenue earning capacity, and this is how the business will grow automatically. So this is the question number 3. In case if any one of you have any doubt about it, you can please ask me, else we go to the next one. Anyone? ओके नाउ अगर आपके पास में मेरे लिए सवाल नहीं है तो मेरे पास में आपके लिए बहुत सारे सवाल हैं आप सभी के लिए. तो प्लीज टेल मी, हाउ डू यू फाइंड आउट ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट ऑफ अ बिजनेस? ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट बिजनेस का कैसे मालूम करेंगे? अल्पना कैसे मालूम करोगी ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट बिजनेस का?
Difference between
या ओके, यस शिवा प्लीज गो अहेड.
difference between opening stock plus purchase minus sales.
Uh-huh.
That is a trading profit.
Okay, trading profit. And for the manufacturing company, how will you find out the gross profit for a manufacturing company? Avinash? Alik, how will you find out the gross profit? Alik? Damodar?
So the manufacturing company, they will incur some direct expense as well.
Uh-huh. Yes. So how do you find out the gross profit? So if I ask you, if I give the balance sheet of Bharat Forge or Bajaj Auto or Bajaj Tempo or not Bajaj Tempo, now it's Force Motors. So if I give the balance sheet of these companies and if I ask you to please let me know what is the gross profit of these companies, how will you figure it out?
Revenue minus cost of goods.
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
Revenue minus cost of goods sold.
Very good. Minus cost of goods sold. Very, very nice. Very good. My next question is, how will you find out the EBITDA? Govind Raju, how will you find out the EBITDA of a business? Harinad, how will you find out the EBITDA of a
Profit
business?
plus depreciation plus interest.
Say it again, please, Shivaji. दोबारा बताइए. Say it again, please.
Profit plus depreciation plus interest.
Profit plus depreciation plus interest will give you
Plus
your
tax.
plus tax. Okay, plus tax will give you your EBITDA. Okay, very nice, very good, Harinaji, first class, first class. And how will you find out your operating profit, Himanshu? How will you find out your operating profit, Himanshu? Mahadev.
Sales minus operating ratio.
शिवाजी मैं आपसे थोड़ा देर से पूछता हूँ, तब तक मैं बाकी लोगों को जरा चांस देता हूँ एक्चुअली ना. तो महादेव, हाउ विल यू फाइंड आउट द ऑपरेटिंग प्रॉफिट? मंगेश, मनीष, Mayur. Yeah, you can unmute yourself. Yes, Mangesh.
So operating margin means sales minus variable cost.
No, I am saying operating profit, EBIT.
Sales minus variable cost minus other expenses minus salary cost.
Okay, Mangesh, very good. Niranjan, how will you find out the PBIT or EBIT or operating profit? Niranjan? Omkar?
Need to add interest and taxes also to the net profits.
Okay, good. So now friends, let me share with you as to how do we figure out all these items one by one. So please remember, if we have to do financial analysis for decision making, we have to understand profit. And profit from the purpose of, please mute yourself. Profit for the purpose of value creation or decision making can be understood as gross profit, EBITDA, EBIT, EBT, EAT, retained profit, internal accrual, retained cash profit, earning per share, and cash earning per share. So this is how profit can be understood for the purpose of decision making, and that is what all of us as the finance professionals need to have a very strong hold about. Now the question is, how do we figure it out? How do we figure out the figure of gross profit or EBITDA? Let's look at them one by one. So this is how we will be able to find out the gross profit. So what do? We, from the figure of sales, we minus the figure of, from the figure of sales, we minus the figure of material cost, we minus the figure of manufacturing expenses. What we get in our hand is known as gross profit. And that means what? That means अगर हम सेल्स में से मटेरियल कॉस्ट को माइनस करें और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एक्सपेंसेस को माइनस करें, तो जो हमारे हाथ में बचता है, दैट इज व्हाट इज नॉन एज ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट. एंड प्लीज रिमेंबर, दिस मटेरियल कॉस्ट एंड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एक्सपेंसेस आर ऑल्सो नॉन एज COGS, कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड. सो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? इसका मतलब ये हुआ दैट इफ वी डिडक्ट COGS from the figure of sales of the business, what we will get? We will get the figure of gross profit. And remember, some people call it gross profit, some people call it gross margin, some people call it gross profit margin, some people call it gross value addition, some people call it gross value addition and things like that. But remember, वो सबका मतलब एक ही है. और क्या है एक मतलब? Sales minus COGS is equal to gross profit. Now from the gross profit, when we deduct SG&A, selling, general and administrative expenses, from the gross profit, when we deduct the SG&A, selling, general and administrative expenses, what we get in our hand is known as EBITDA. It is known as EBITDA. EBITDA is also known as cash operating profit. EBITDA is also known as cash operating profit. Can somebody tell me why EBITDA is also called as cash operating profit? Anyone from you? Why EBITDA is also known as cash operating profit?
Because we are excluding the depreciation. The depreciation is the non-cash item.
Okay. What else? Why EBITDA is known as cash operating profit? What is the meaning of cash operating profit? Anyone else? Now remember, EBITDA is known as cash operating profit. So what is the meaning of cash operating profit? Meaning of cash operating profit is so much cash I am getting in my hand from my operations, and that is the meaning of cash operating profit. So much cash I am getting in my hands from my operations, and that is why EBITDA is also known as cash operating profit. Now please pay attention, how does that happen? Please mute yourself. Yep, thank you. So देखिए, मेरे बिजनेस में 3,000 मेरे हाथ में आए, है ना? उसमें से 1400 चले गए. 1400 has gone out on account of what? On account of material cost. 500 has gone out on account of what? On account of the manufacturing expenses. 250 has gone out on account of what? On account of selling, general and administrative expenses. So from the operations, how much cash I have got in my hand? I have got 850 in my hand, and that is why this is known as EBITDA, and this is also known as cash operating profit. Meaning what? Meaning from my operations I have got so much of cash in my hand, and that is your EBITDA. From the figure of EBITDA, we will minus the figure of depreciation, and we will minus the figure of amortization. And so when we minus the figure of depreciation and amortization, what we get in our hand is known as EBIT. EBIT is operating profit, earning before interest and tax. It is also known as operating profit. So remember, there is only one difference between the EBITDA and the EBIT, and the difference is of depreciation and amortization. Now depreciation and amortization, please remember, are non-cash expenses. And why are they known as non-cash expenses? Because there is no outflow from the business on account of depreciation and on account of amortization. and that is the reason why depreciation and amortization are also referred as non-cash expense. So please remember, operating profit में से आप क्या करोगे? From the operating profit you will deduct the finance cost which is same as interest. So you call it interest cost, you call it finance cost, and that means what? That means the loan that you may have taken in your business, you may have taken loan for working capital, you may have taken loan for project. Doesn't really matter whether you have taken a loan for working capital or you have taken a loan for project. In both the cases you would pay interest to a bank from where you may have taken that loan, and that is your finance cost. So from the PBIT, or that is operating profit, you minus the finance cost, and what you get in your hand is known as EBT, earning before tax. And it is on this, from this earning before tax you will minus the taxes, and what you get in your hand is known as EAT, earning after tax. EAT. So what is the meaning of EAT, earning after tax? Meaning of EAT, earning after tax is very simple. इसका ये मतलब है कि अगर आपके बिजनेस में ये फिगर पॉजिटिव है, then you can eat in your business, otherwise you cannot eat in your business, and that is the meaning of EAT, earning after tax. So EAT is also known as net income, net profit, or you also call it as a bottom line. And why do you call it as a bottom line? Because P&L के bottom में ये figure आता है, and that is why this figure is also known as bottom line. Now from the figure of EAT we minus the amount of dividend. What we get is the retained earnings or retained profit. And when we add to this figure of retained earning or retained profit the figure of depreciation and amortization, what we get in our hand is the retained cash accrual. So friends, this is how you will understand the profitability. Now my question to every one of you is, can somebody tell me what do you understand by EBITDA cost? So ये जो फिगर आपके सामने हैं, अगर मैं आपसे पूछूं कि इस कंपनी की EBITDA cost कितनी है, so can somebody tell me how much is the EBITDA cost of this company whose numbers are there in front of you? Should not take you more than 30 seconds. How much?
2150.
Very good. And how did you arrive it?
Material cost.
Okay.
Plus manufacturing expenses.
Very good.
Plus general administration expenses.
Fantastic. So 250. Is that right? So this is 2150, and that is your EBITDA cost. So what is the meaning of EBITDA cost? It's very simple. EBITDA cost means all the cost before the EBITDA are the EBITDA cost. So what are the EBITDA costs? Your material cost, your manufacturing expenses, and SG&A put together, and you are absolutely right. So all of them put together becomes your EBITDA cost. Fantastic. Very good. So with this we can move to the next one, and next one is return on equity, return on capital employed, and return on investment. Now friends, please remember, whether as a CMA in employment or as a CMA in practice, remember our role more or less is same in both the capacities. In the capacity in employment, our role is to help our company earn more return on equity, earn more return on capital employed, earn more return on investment. तो अगर मैं एक कंपनी में काम कर रहा हूँ as a CMA, what is my role, what is my responsibility? My role, my responsibility is to help my company earn more return on equity, earn more return on capital employed, earn more return on investment. और अगर मैं प्रैक्टिस में हूँ तो भी मेरा रोल वही है, और मैं प्रैक्टिस में हूँ तो भी मेरा रोल वही है. क्या है मेरा रोल? मेरा रोल ये है कि मैं मेरे क्लाइंट्स को मदद करूँ कि उनका ROE बढ़े, उनका रिटर्न ऑन कैपिटल एम्प्लॉयड बढ़े, और उनका रिटर्न ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट बढ़े. So it doesn't really matter as to which side of the table you are occupying. Your role, my role as a CMA is still the same, and that is to help my company, help my clients improve their return on equity, return on capital employed and return on investment. अब अगर मुझे मेरे क्लाइंट्स को या मेरी कंपनी को मदद करनी है उनके रिटर्न ऑन इक्विटी को इम्प्रूव करने में, रिटर्न ऑन कैपिटल एम्प्लॉयड को इम्प्रूव करने में और रिटर्न ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट को इम्प्रूव करने में, तो सबसे पहली रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है? सबसे पहली रिक्वायरमेंट ये है कि मुझे मालूम होना चाहिए कि रिटर्न ऑन इक्विटी कैसे कैलकुलेट करते हैं, मुझे मालूम होना चाहिए कि रिटर्न ऑन कैपिटल एम्प्लॉयड कैसे कैलकुलेट करते हैं, मुझे मालूम होना चाहिए कि रिटर्न ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट कैसे कैलकुलेट करते हैं. तो हम क्या करेंगे, हम पहले इस चीज़ को समझ के लेंगे कि ये रेशोज किस तरह से कैलकुलेट करते हैं. सो आई एम गिविंग यू सम नंबर्स हियर. तो ये नंबर आपकी स्क्रीन पर हैं और मैं चाहूँगा कि आप सभी जल्दी से ये जो नंबर हैं इनसे रिटर्न ऑन इक्विटी कैलकुलेट करें इस कंपनी का और चैट बॉक्स में लिखें, और चैट बॉक्स में लिखें. All of you. So the numbers are there in front of you, and please write your response in the chat box कि ये जो कंपनी है इस कंपनी का रिटर्न ऑन इक्विटी कितना होगा. एंड आपकी सहूलियत के लिए मैं बता दूं आपको कि रिटर्न ऑन इक्विटी कैसे कैलकुलेट करते हैं. रिटर्न ऑन इक्विटी कैलकुलेट करते हैं R अपॉन equity into 100. So this is how you will calculate return on equity. It should not take you more than 45 seconds. वो भी ज़्यादा हो गए. 45 seconds के अंदर में आपको आंसर निकालना चाहिए. And please write it on the chat box. Okay, so let me see in case someone has given the response. Not yet. All right, so Omkar 16%. Okay, very good. Return on equity 16%. Something is wrong, Omkar, in your calculation. 16%. Okay, so Vivek Brata also giving 16%. Let's see. All right. Okay. Quick. I want everyone to give the answer very quickly. Okay, so Ashish is writing 160%. Yes, that may be right. Okay, so how do we calculate return on equity? Return on equity is return divided by equity into 100. Return is how much? Return is 200. Equity is how much? 125 into 100, and that is 160%, and that's correct. All right. Okay. Let's find out return on capital employed from these numbers. And how do we calculate return on capital employed? Return on capital employed is return divided by capital employed into 100. Please find out. Should not take you more than 1 minute. Return on capital employed should not take you more than 1 minute. Okay, so you can just type your answer in the chat box. So let me check. Okay, so everyone is writing 53.33. 53.33. mm-hmm. And let me tell you, 53.33 is not right, is wrong. So let me give you time of
60%, right?
how much? How much? Okay, so let me give you time of 10 minutes to find answers to this question, and we will use this 10 minute also as a okay, so let's see in case somebody has okay, so let me see in case someone is changing his response. Everybody wrote 33.33. Okay, very good. So I can see now Abhijit is writing 80%, Ashish is writing 60%, Omkar is writing 80%. So now we have a bigger problem, because earlier it was only 53.33%. Now we have three answers. So we have 53.33, we have 60%, and we have 80%. Which is the right answer? Deepak, why do you say 80%? Deepak, why do you say 80%?
Yeah, sir. Actually, while calculating return on capital employed, earning before interest and taxes needs to be considered.
Why? Why?
Because extraordinary item needs to be excluded. Huh?
Why? Why am I asking? No, no, okay, okay. Okay, ठीक है, okay, Deepak. Let's see who else.
Sir, we are minusing interest portion which is on debentures,
Mhm.
and again while considering while calculating the ratio, we are considering debentures capital also, so that might be wrong. So EBIT is considered, that is before interest, because we are considering equity as well as debentures for calculation purpose, and the EBIT represents both the portions.
Okay, Abhijit, what is you are saying 80%, and what is your reason for writing 80%?
So basically, the thing is, we are taking equity and debt at the same level. So it should be EBIT. So it should be before interest and tax.
Okay, okay, okay. Ashish, you are saying 60%. Okay, before Ashish, I'll take Mohit. Mohit, you are saying 53.33%. Would you like to answer as to why are you taking 53 point? How are you getting 53.33 and why? Manish?
So I just use the profit and of course, and the total amount of the capital employed, including the debt capital as first. So
Shiva? Shiva, you are giving 53.33. And would you like to tell as to why is that 53.33? Ashish, you are showing 60%. Would you like to explain to everyone as to why should you get it 60%?
Sure, sir. Can you please display the question on the screen?
Yes, of course. Yes, yes.
It will be more easier for me to explain by
No,
that.
very good, very good. Yes, here it is.
Okay. So our EBIT is 300
Mm-hmm.
and our finance cost is 25.
Hmm.
Okay. And the tax on our profit before tax is 75. So 75 is how much percent of 275? It's 27 point some percent.
Mm-hmm.
So our tax rate is 27%. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if we take profit before tax, just a second. 75 is our capital employed. 300 into so just a second.
No worries. Okay. It's all right. Not to worry. Let me ask you another question to every one of you. Now, all of you, please tell me, जब आप रिटर्न ऑन कैपिटल एम्प्लॉयड कैलकुलेट करते हो, what is that you are trying to find out? All of you. When you are calculating return on capital employed, what is that you are trying to find out?
Sir, we need to understand how much is the investments which we have made on our return on our investments. If I invest 100 rupees, how much I will be getting on that investment?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to take it only from the EBIT before interest and tax because it is a cash profit.
Mm-hmm. No, Bala.
80% only. 80% only I would like to.
Bala, my question is, what does return on capital employed tell you?
How much I am earning on my investments.
Okay.
Say I am investing in the business. In that, how much I will be earning from that investment.
Okay, but remember, be attentive. The ratio that we are calculating is return on capital employed. So it is not return on investment.
No, capital employed also we can get it from the total assets minus our current liability.
Okay, so good, Bala. So what is capital employed and what is investment?
No, whatever capital which we have raised on long-term liability, so that will be invested in the either in the mostly in the fixed portion of the investments.
Okay.
Assets.
So how do you differentiate between the capital employed and investment? Are they same or they are different?
No, it is the difference only.
Okay, very good. And what is the difference?
Difference is because of the how much our leverage we have on the investments in the loan. For example, if I am getting like share capital or bonds, I am getting the loan or liability. So whether how much is going to be invested in the fixed assets. So we can say like.
Okay, Bala, what does the capital employed comprise of?
Yeah, capital employed is comprises of our investments and whatever investments which I am making on the total my investments, including current assets and fixed assets together, total assets. On that I am reducing my current liability.
All right, okay, Bala, thank you. Anyone would like to answer this question? What is capital employed? Anyone?
So it is current assets minus current liabilities. or alternatively it could be equity share portion plus non-current liabilities.
Okay. Shiva, you want to say something? Please go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Equity plus loan funds plus debenture, other long-term borrowings.
Other long-term borrowing. Very good. So all of you, please understand what Mr. Shiva has said. What is capital employed? Capital employed is very simple. There is no confusion at all. Capital employed is money that you bring into the business is capital employed. As simple as that. Money that you bring into the business is capital employed. And how do you bring money into the business? You bring money into the business through two sources. Number one is your equity. And number two is your debt. So what is capital employed? Capital employed is total of debt plus equity. Capital employed is total of debt plus equity. So if you want to find out return on capital employed, what you're trying to find out? You are trying to find out as a business what return you are giving to the people who have given you capital. And who has given you capital? The shareholders have given you capital and the lenders also have given you capital. So what is your equity in this case? Your equity in this case is 125. What is your debt in this case? It is 250. So that is your capital employed. Now how do you calculate the return on capital employed? ROCE कैसे calculate करेंगे? ROCE is what return have you earned for the people who have given you equity, which is your profit after tax, and what return are you giving to the people who have given you debt, and that is your interest. So 25 into 100. So your return on capital employed is going to be 225 divided by 375 into 100 equal to 60%. And this is how you will calculate your return on capital employed. I hope it makes sense to everyone. So remember, don't make the mistake of taking profit after tax in the numerator. Don't make the mistake of taking EBIT in the numerator. Don't take the mistake of taking EBIT in the numerator. Why? Because you are calculating return on capital employed. And what is the meaning of return on capital employed? Meaning of return on capital employed is very simple, and that is what return are you giving, are you earning as a business for the people who have given you capital. Who has given you capital? Shareholders have given you capital, lenders have given you capital. What return are you giving for the shareholders? 200. What return are you giving to the lenders? 25. So total return, how much are you giving to both of them put together? 225. What is your capital employed? 375 into 100. So your 60% is your return on capital employed. So this is how you will calculate. Let's go to the next one, and the next one is return on investment. Please calculate return on investment. Should not take you more than 1 minute. All of you. And you can write your answer in the chat box. So whatever is your answer, and for your benefit, let me tell you how to calculate ROI. R upon investment into 100. This is how you will calculate your ROI. So please tell me how much is your answer. Should not take you more than now 30 seconds. So let me see. Okay, good. Okay, so no answer so far. Yes, yes, is showing 160%. Okay. And how do you get it? Yes, 160%.
So 200 divided by 125 into 100. 200 divided by 125 into 100.
अगर ये तो सेम हो गया एज रिटर्न ऑन इक्विटी, वो भी इतना ही था.
Yes, sir.
तो दोनों में फ़र्क क्या है फिर? दोनों में फ़र्क क्या है?
दोनों को अपना रिस्पेक्टिव रिटर्न ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट अलग अलग मिलेगा.
तो फिगर सेम आ रहा है, इस सेम फिगर 160%.
Yes, but equity will get 160% on their investment as return, and bondholders will get their 10%.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, friends, let me tell you how. So how do we calculate ROI? ROI is always EBIT divided by investment. Please remember, for any company, capital employed will always be same as investment. And why is that so? Because जो भी पैसा आप बिजनेस में लगाओगे, उस पैसे से आप क्या करोगे? एसेट्स खरीदोगे. और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या होगा? कुछ पैसा पड़ा रहेगा बैंक में, but that is also part of your investment. Only thing is, on that investment you're not earning anything, which means keeping your money in bank is a bad investment, but it is an investment. So this is how you will calculate into 100. So your EBIT is 300, so you take it here 300, and your investment is same as your capital employed, so 375 into 100. कितना आता है? Whatever that amount is. Is it 80%? Should be 80%. Shiva, is it 80%? Can you please confirm?
Yes, sir, it is 80%.
Okay, good. So this is how you will calculate the return on investment. So please understand the difference between ROE, ROCE and ROI. What is the difference? A return on equity tells you what return are you giving to the shareholders as a business. That is return on equity. A return on capital employed will tell you what return you are giving to the people who have given you capital, which is lenders and the shareholders. A return on investment will tell you what return are you earning, what operating profit are you earning from the investment that you have made. And that is the difference between the ROCE, ROE and ROI. Okay, good. So let's now look at the next. Will somebody like to tell me the difference between COCE or relationship between these three figures? Can someone tell me what is SOCE, ROCE and EVA? Anyone? So how do you explain SOCE, ROCE and EVA? Anyone please? Omkar, how do you differentiate? Mr. Balasubramaniam? Ashish?
The COCE, I'm not sure about.
COCE is cost of capital employed.
That's what I was confused, whether it is cost of capital employed or some new term I'm going to learn today.
No, it is cost of capital employed.
Okay. And ROC is return on capital employed, which we just saw.
Correct.
And economic value added is in form of EVA. It just tells us how much value we have added in the reporting period.
Very good. Very good. And how do you calculate it?
It's net operating profit after tax, and it's multiplied by. Actually, it's been a while since I calculated an EVA, so.
Okay, no worries. Don't worry. Don't worry. All of you, please pay attention. So, what is SOCE? Please remember, SOCE is same as COCE is same as WACC. It is also same as WACOC. They all mean the same thing. And what it is basically, it is weighted average cost of capital. So what is EVA? EVA is economic value added. And how do you calculate it? You calculate it return on capital employed minus cost of capital employed. And that's your EVA, economic value added. So if a company's ROCE is 10% and SOCE is 15%, is this business creating value? Everyone?
No.
This business is not creating value. This business is destroying value. If the ROCE is 15%, SOCE is 10%, is this business creating value? And the answer is?
Yes. It's
Yes.
adding 5% on.
Absolutely, it is creating 5% value. Very good. Let's take another case, friends, and that is on working capital. How to assess working capital management of a well-managed company? So all of us know how do we calculate the current ratio. So current ratio is calculated by dividing current assets by the current liabilities. Today morning I was just going through some financial statements and I came across a company called XYZ Limited. And what did I notice? I noticed that the current ratio of this company on 31st March 2019 was 1.85. It came down to 1.65 on 31st March 20, and it further came down to 1.2 on 31st March 21. So my question to all of you, is it a good sign or it is a bad sign?
It is a bad sign.
Bad sign, sir.
Bad sign, okay. Why do you say it's a bad sign?
Because the short-term liquidity of the company is constantly getting low.
Mm-hmm.
When it doesn't have enough current asset or the short-term liquidity to pay off its current debts.
Mm-hmm. Now remember, this is a well-managed company. Okay? This is a well-managed company. And let me tell all of you, what is the meaning of a well-managed company? The meaning of a well-managed company is that this company, number one, is making profit. Number two, it is paying to all its creditor, financial creditor and the operational creditor, absolutely on time. So company is making profit and paying on time to everyone without any delay whatsoever. So that is the definition of a well-managed company. Now tell me, this is a well-managed company and the current ratios over last 3 years have been declining from 1.85 to 1.6 and to 1.2.
It is a good sign, sir. It is a good sign.
Is it a good sign? Okay, very good. So wait a minute. Let's see as to what others have to say, and then I will ask you to explain as to why do you say it's a good sign. So all of you, it's a good sign or bad sign?
It's a good sign, assuming that the other indicators are constant.
Yes, Ashish, you want to say something?
Sorry, sir, I pressed that button, but actually I do say that it's good that it's paying its creditor on time. But if the ratio is as low as 1.2 at the time of crisis or emergency payments, it won't be able to come through. I don't think it's a very good sign.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I hit the guy a little.
No worries at all. No worries. Okay, somebody was saying it is a good sign.
It's a good sign, sir.
Yes, Shiva, please go ahead. Why do you say it's a good sign?
Because you already told that a company is a well-managed company. They will reduce their debtors as well as they will say year adjustment regarding creditors. So they will automatically narrow down because anything more than one, it is okay.
Yeah.
Regarding current asset. That is
it's a bad sign. It's decreasing. It's a bad sign.
Why it's a bad sign?
Because its ability to service its liabilities, I think it's decreasing because generally between more than 1.5 is good. Between it's actually on a decreasing trend. So it's a bad sign.
Why bad sign, Manish? Why is bad sign?
The company's ability to service its liabilities. I mean, it's like steadily, going down. So
now, Manish, tell me, where does you, as a business, where do you get your ability to pay your obligations? Do you get your ability to pay your obligations from the current assets that you have, or the cash that you generate from your operations?
definitely I think so from the cash that you generate from the operations.
So if the company is generating profit and making payment to everybody on time, if the current ratio is declining, what's wrong?
It's actually it should be double the current assets. Two is a very good ratio. That's what I know, sir. Because it should be double the amount.
Okay, Manish, tell me. Okay, yes, Ashish.
It's sometimes it's good to be conservative in terms of how much liquidity you are holding, because as we saw in the pandemic, a lot of people got cash crunches. So if we are not able to pay our short-term liabilities on time, our business will not be able to survive for a long time in such periods.
You know what, Ashish, am I right, Ashish?
Yes, sir.
ओके आशीष, देखो कोविड जैसी सिचुएशन का तो कोई इलाज ही नहीं है, तो आप कोविड में तो कितना भी लिक्विडिटी रख लो वो तो कम ही पड़ने वाला है. सो कोविड की सिचुएशन एक्सेप्शनल सिचुएशन है, उसके बारे में बात नहीं हो रही है, नॉर्मल बात हो रही है. नाउ ऑल ऑफ यू प्लीज आंसर कपल ऑफ माय क्वेश्चंस. ऑल ऑफ यू, एज अ बिजनेस, will you like to your inventories to move up or move down? Move down, right? Move down. Okay. Just 1 second. Hello. Yes. ठीक है, कहाँ से, कौन सा कुरियर है? अच्छा ठीक है, उनको दिया ना भरवड़े जी को. ठीक है, मैं वहाँ से ले. ऑल राइट, ठीक है, थैंक यू. Yes. So would you like your inventories to go up or go down?
Down, sir.
Down. Would you like your receivables to go up or go down?
Down.
Down. So if the current ratio is going down, that means inventories are going up or down?
But sir,
आशीष एक सेकेंड. आशीष पॉइंट वाइज पॉइंट आंसर करते. Let us take one.
Since it is a well-managed company, Since it's a well-managed company, they will realize that debtors ahead of schedule.
Absolutely.
Another they will introduce JIT system to reduce the inventory.
Absolutely.
To catch more business, they will lend credit, credit sales. So credit will increase.
Yes.
So automatically ratio will come down.
Yes.
So it's a well-managed company.
Yes. So is it a good sign or a
one
bad
more
sign?
point.
Is it a good sign or bad sign?
Sir, it is a good sign.
Yes, Bala. Okay. Okay. Why do you say it's a good sign?
Because it is a working capital point of view, it is a positive.
Yes.
Because my current assets are more than my current liability, I have the more liquidity to realize my cash. It means I can settle all my dues and I can have the sufficient fund so I can manage the company. So it is a positive sign.
Okay. So everybody
Good for the
is good for the business.
Sir, can I say something?
Yes, please go ahead, Vivek.
Sir, I would to add if it's okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Vivek. Okay, let me just Vivek. After Vivek, Ashish, you will speak.
Sure.
Sir, there is a possibility that it can be a bad sign also. This is just my imagination.
No problem.
Maybe the long-term funds are being used to pay off the short-term creditors. That is why the current assets are going down. It may be a possibility that we are using the long-term funds not in the right way, paying off short-term creditors, etc. So then the current assets may also go down for that purpose also. So if that is the case, then it is a possibility that it is a bad sign.
Okay. Okay. I'll come to you, Vivek. Ashish.
Yes, sir.
Now tell me.
I would like to add, sir, if everyone is saying that current assets are going down, that's a good thing. But simultaneously, current liabilities should also be going down if we are trying to apply a lean system. So anytime if corresponding
but why current liability should go down? Why should they go down? They should go up.
So working capital cycle should be ensured that our working capital cycle is smooth. So at least I would say that at least 1.5 ratio is a standard. Below that is actually, according to me, it's not a good sign for a company.
ये standard 1.5 किसने बनाया?
नहीं, स्टैंडर्ड मतलब ऐसा थोड़ा सा कंजर्वेटिज्म रखना चाहिए सर इस चीज में, ऐसा मुझे लगता है.
Okay, देखो आशीष, remember we are in business and in today's world we have to be extremely efficient. So if a business is holding too much of inventory, if a business is holding too much of receivable, its current ratio is going to be high, but that's a bad sign. That's a bad sign. Why that's a bad sign? Because as a business, what you are doing, as a business, you are unnecessarily locking your capital in inventory, in receivable. So when you are locking your capital in inventory, you are taking more loan from the bank. On that loan, you are paying more interest. So is it a good thing or bad thing? It's a bad thing. If your current ratio is high, that means your receivables are high. If your receivables are high, that means what? That means you have to spend a lot of money in following up with your customer, and they also become bad debt. So you are incurring losses. So you are incurring bad debt, you are paying more interest, and that is a bad sign. So please remember, all the books would say that current ratio must be 2:1. And that is because those books have been written 50 years ago, 60 years ago, and they have no idea as to what is the current market scenario, what is the current market environment. So please remember, as a business, it should be our endeavor that our current ratio is as low as possible. There is a company called Maruti. Maruti purchases spark plug from company called Bosch, Michael Bosch. You know what is the delivery time? Myco Bosch is asked to deliver the spark plug in Maruti not 2 months in advance, not 1 month in advance, not 2 weeks in advance, not half a week in advance, not 1 day in advance. Myco Bosch is asked to supply the spark plug on shift basis. And why shift basis? Because Maruti says, why should I let my company become go down of Myco Bosch? वो 2 महीने पहले मुझे सप्लाई करेंगे, उनका मीटर तब से चालू हो जाएगा, मुझे उनको पेमेंट जल्दी करना पड़ेगा, उनका मटेरियल मैं रखूं, मेरी फैक्ट्री उनका गोडाउन बने. Why should that happen? Is that a good operational sign or bad operational efficiency? That's a bad operational efficiency. So please remember, so long as you are making profit, so long as you are paying to everyone on time, your current ratio, if it is declining, it is a good sign. It is a sign of operational efficiency. That means you as a business are running your operations very efficiently. You are doing a good working capital management. You are not letting the inventory build up. You are not letting the receivables build up. That is a good sign. But please remember, if you are a loss-making company, then your current ratio will be low in any case by default. So if your company is making losses, then you will be in your current ratio is going to be low in any case. Your current ratio will be declining. And why your current ratio will be declining? Your current ratio will be declining because you have no money to buy raw material. You have no money to produce. You have no goods to sell. So therefore you will not have inventory. You will not have receivables. So you have no current assets. And on the contrary, you are not paying to your suppliers. Your current liabilities are increasing. So your current assets are low, your current liabilities are high, and that is why your current ratio is going to be very low in case of a loss-making company. So all of you, please remember, for a well-managed company, if the current ratio is low, it is a good sign. It is a sign of operational efficiency. But if it is a loss-making company and current ratio is low, it's no surprise, because for a loss-making company, current ratio is bound to be low. Okay. Any question on this? Okay. Now friends, what we can do, we can now make it interactive session. So you can now, we still have about 20 minutes. So let me make it open to all of you. तो आपके जो भी सवाल होंगे फाइनेंस से रिलेटेड, you can ask me and I would be very happy to answer them. All of you. So it's open to all of you. You can ask me whatever questions that you may have.
Sir?
Yes, Ashish.
I'm sorry. I'll ask one more thing regarding the current ratio. Like you gave the example of Maruti and Bosch.
Yep.
If Maruti is not in inventory and it's taking on just-in-time basis, their liability side will also be low simultaneously, right? Because it's not taking credit right away. So the current ratio will not be corresponding so low like this.
Okay, so I would like some
current liability.
Okay, good question, Ashish.
Sure.
Good question. Let me open it to all the participants here. So let somebody answer from the audience. Ashish तेरा question दोबारा repeat करो. So what I am going to do, friends, now I am going to leave it open to all of you, and now that we have this opportunity, I would like to throw it open to all of you to ask me all your questions pertaining to finance, and in a very interactive manner.